So today, I want to deal with the young and stop you from doing stupid mistakes. Some stupid mistakes last a lifetime. It can last a lifetime. All right, so we're going to stay away from certain things. The Bible says a few things that are essential for teenagers. One of them, it says, evil communication corrupts good manners. That means I got to be careful who I hang around. I got to pick my friends wisely. Now, so some of you you're thinking, he's so old, he's not with her. He don't know what he's talking about. I grew up in Miami, Florida. And what they did in Miami, Florida when I was a teenager, they still don't do it here. So do understand, I have a clue. I'll get around certain people and I'll X them out. Not my friend. Not my friend. Not my friend. Not my friend. I end up hanging around all the geeks. I did. I hung around. I was the coolest guy in the geek squad. You know, we were kind of poor in Miami. You know, and we lived in the projects. Yes, I'm a product of the projects. You would have never known, right? Yeah, I lived in the hard neighborhood. In the worst neighborhood. I watched people get killed in front of my street because of drug deals. I once saw a guy trying to get away on his motorcycle, and he was really dark-skinned. This is important. He fell, he slid, and all his skin came off on one side. So pink on dark skin. I grew up in that neighborhood. I grew up around drugs. I grew up around prostitution. I grew up around a lot of people doing sexual things. But I chose not to be stupid. I graduated from high school. Soon after high school, I joined the Army. A year in the Army, I had already risen to being a sergeant, which normally took 6 to 9 years. I did it in 364 days. By 1 year, I was Sergeant of the Year of the United States Army. See, I decided I didn't want to be stupid. I learned how to work hard. I learned how to work harder than most people. And I knew who to stay away from. See, when I walked into the bathroom in my school, it was full of smoke. And it wasn't cigarette. I decided not to go to the bathroom at school. You imagine having to hold it all day. My school, they chained the door closed after the bell. You were stuck there until school finished. We had metal detectors as you walked in the door. See, some of you haven't even experienced that yet, right? This was in the 80s. Oh, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff at school, but I chosen to stay away from certain people. Turn with me to Luke chapter 13. We've been talking about the miracles of Jesus. We went from Jesus being 12 years old to Jesus being 30 years old. Something happened in between that lapse. The first miracle, how many of you can remind me what's the first miracle? Turning water into wine. You remember the attitude that Mary had with Jesus before the water was turned into wine. What did she say? What did she say to him first? She started with him. She went up to her son and said, "Son, they're out of wine." He turned around and says, "What do I have to do with you, woman?" Let me change it to normal English. That's not my business. She ignored him. She said to the workers, "Whatever he tells you to do, do it." That's mean. She just told him, and then she just walks away. Like he'll handle it. How did she know he will handle it? We know from 12 years old to 30 years old. At 12 years old, they lost Jesus. Could you imagine that? They're walking back to Nazareth, and they had family members. So a day goes by. He's with his cousins. He's all right. Day 2. Have you seen Jesus? No, we haven't seen Jesus. Joseph, we lost the Son of God. They had to turn back around. And they found him at the temple, surrounded by old fogies. Wait, 12 years old was surrounded by whom? Surrounded by whom? Around old people. Why was he around old people? He was learning from them, and he was teaching them. See, I watch some of you. Some of you just want to hang out with all your young folks. Some of you think you're a lot older than you are, Mr. TJ. Likes hanging around bigger folks. Then I go to Miami, and I get around all the men there, and then they don't give me a moment. I sit down, and I'm surrounded by all the men. They start asking me a million questions. And I realize I'm an old fogey. See, when you're young, you think that your life that you have is going to be the same forever. But it's not. Your life will change. The one constant thing about life is that it will change. So Jesus is hanging around all these old folks. And then Mary finds him. And she says, "Son, what are you doing? We thought we lost you." And he looked at her and said, "Why? I'm about my Father's business." If you want wisdom, hang around the wise. If you want stupidity, hang around the fools. So right now, really quickly, do an assessment of your friends. Are they wise? Or are they foolish? Evil communication corrupts good manners. Okay, this gets worse. I have worked on 14 years on Ariel. 14 years. All she has to do to mess up my 14 years is hang around bad people. Because it says evil communication corrupts good manners. She can have good manners and hang around bad people and mess it up. So I pray for my kids' friends. Elijah came home, some of you saw him. He said a statement to my wife. He said this: Nobody likes me there. Because they are all bad people. So no one likes me there. And I looked at him, I said, that's good, son. I don't want bad people to like you. I want bad people to not like you. Be Christ to them. And the moment they need to hear from Christ, they're going to find you. Now, that means my son is a little lonely over there. He hasn't found one person. One. He's standing all by himself. You know what? He's going to succeed. If you can stand up when everyone else is sitting down, you're going to succeed. Because life is not made up of the people who sit down. They're made up of the people who are standing. See, when you read the history book in high school and in college, it's not written about the people who sat down. It's written about the people who stood up and did something different. So be mindful. We have Leah going to college. Pick carefully. It's better for you to have no friends than to have the wrong friends. And see, I'm already speaking volumes here. Some of the parents here are like, yes, say it. Yes, just say it louder. Just go ahead, keep saying it. I want my kids to be a success. I want to be there every time they succeed and know that I am there on their rooting team. But I'm prepared for a few failures. I'm prepared to watch them fall a few times. And said, are you okay? Now get up. But Dad, no. You don't accomplish anything down there. Get up. Come on, get up. Get going. I'm prepared for that. Because that's going to happen to them. Be mindful of who your friends are. Jesus was mindful of who his friends were. Because here's what I noticed when he was 12 years old. He was there by himself, surrounded by a whole bunch of fogies. It wasn't Jesus and his best friend John. He wasn't there with Zacharias or Judah. He wasn't even there with his brother James. He was there by himself. He was already learning to be a difference. So now we find this man making trouble. Oh, did you say that? I did. The Bible said Jesus went around doing good. But his doing good made trouble. My son is at AIT making trouble. He's told me some of the trouble he's made. And then he can't even get in trouble for it. Because he didn't say anything wrong. He said something right. And I was like, okay, White. I'm glad you see it that way. And they keep on going. See, because when the guys are calling the girls, they call them by that name, which means female dog. And he'll stop the young man and says, I am confused. Was it your dog or your neighbor's dog? Which dog did you do that to? That is nasty. You can see he has a lot of friends, right? Because they're saying something that they shouldn't say, and he stops them. Does that sound like any of you? Pick your friends carefully. It will affect your future. If you wanted to run for, let's say, public office, they're going to bring up all your junk. Let me tell you what the Bible says. Whatsoever is done in secret Shh, girl, don't tell nobody. Don't tell nobody. Hi, hey, Mom, how are you doing? How is everything? Shall be shouted out from the mountaintop. I see your eyes all dilated trying to act and you're not doing any weed over there. You can't hide it. You really can't. I know this because you can smell it. I grew up in Miami, and I have real good sense of smell. That smells like weed. That's a blunt. You know about blunts? Hello, I grew up in Miami. I know about blunts. I know about cocaine. I know about crack. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen people do that stupidness. Why? It is dumb. Because you can look at the person and already know how far they're going to go in the future. You can. Oh, the worst one right now I think is bath salts. End up eating people. There was a case in Miami, a guy that started eating someone's face. Biting them, taking chunks out of their face, and then they're butt naked. And they had to shoot him several times before he died. Did he just start being stupid? When did he start? A long time ago. Probably when he was a teenager. Long time ago. On the Sabbath, Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues. This is in Luke chapter 13, verse 10. Jesus is teaching. Now, teaching in the synagogue is very different than me preaching. So if I had a scroll, I will open up the scroll and all of you will stand up and I will start to read it. Now, you can't sit down until I'm finished. Sometimes that will be 3 hours later. How many of you want to have that kind of service? He's just going to open up the Old Testament and just start reading. And when he finished, he's going to give me a little few words of what it meant, of what we read about, and then we are finished. So he started teaching in a synagogue. And a woman was there who had been crippled by a spirit for 18 years. She was crippled by what? A spirit. How do you know? How do you know it's a spirit? If Ariel was there, Ariel was in Miami. Lizzie didn't get to see, she was with the kids. Ariel, anyone who had a strange spirit, was it noticeable when they came up for prayer? How was it noticeable? They looked different, they acted different. Some of them started having seizures. They come up for prayer. And they're up there and start doing this. What's going on? What's wrong with that person? Oh, it's a spirit. That's all it is a spirit. She had the spirit for 18 years. Where did he see her at? At church. She was there for 18 years. With that spirit. So people come to church with spirits all the time. All the time. I actually get to see people walking in with spirits. And if some of you saw it, you will be running out of here. Probably that's where you haven't gotten to see it. Some of them are really nasty. Like the spirit of lust. It's nasty. I'm going to describe it to you. It looks like something dead with things crawling through it. That's what it looks like. So I end up preaching and looking at people, and some have it in them, and some have them on them. And they'll come. And some of them will sit right in the front row. Amen. Hallelujah. Glory be to God. Saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. And I'm looking at them and you filled with something. See, spirits look differently. Some come and they have these spirits. So she had a spirit on her. And this spirit kept her crippled. What does cripple mean? Okay, we have one that says the body was stuck. Another one said couldn't walk. What else? Say again, Miss Barbara. Deformed. Sometimes cripple is all the above. Can't walk, not able to move. And deformed. Sometimes cripple means all of it. Now the Bible says she was bent over and could not straighten up. So she came to church like this. And she came with that thing for 18 years. Why didn't no one try to pray for her? Anyone? You know why? They had never seen the power that Jesus had. They had never seen that before. Now, Pastor Donna went with me to Miami, and Zeke was there as well. The church in Miami had never seen some stuff before. Did you notice what that like, Miss Donna? Last time we were there, last week, we had a lady that stood up and her leg grew. I prayed for her leg, and right there, her leg started to get longer. You know, the people had never seen that before. So the following day, we had more people. Really easy, right? Oh, come and see the crazy stuff that's happening. And there's some miracles over there that's happening that's really, really bizarre. So she came to church, and she was bent over. And look what happened. Verse 12. When Jesus saw her, he called her forward and said to her, wait, he's up there reading, and he sees her walking. She was in group B. She was in group B. You know, we have group A. We have group B. We have group C. Some days we have group D. We do. I know Chris and Lisa are part of group A. Then you have the Coley family join them. Group A. I usually come in with group B. Yeah, I usually do, right, Chris? I come in group B. Then we have some who come in on group C. You know, like morning service is supposed to start at 10. They come in at 11. That's group C. Then we have group D that comes in just before the message. So we have all of those. So she's not on group B, actually. She is on group D. Because she's coming in when he starts to speak to the people. And when he saw her, I want you to notice something that we do in common. What did he do? He called her forward. Come here, honey. There are some things that we do that is scriptural. When I call people forward, that is scriptural. You can see Jesus did it. Called her forward. Woman, you are set free from your iniquity. What? What did he do? You're free. Kind of prayer is that? Does that sound like a prayer you say in church? Father, thou who art highly lifted up, who sits on the throne, and Jesus who sits at your right hand. We give thanks that you have given unto us the Holy Spirit, that we can pray to you and through the name. He didn't do any of that. He didn't do any of that. He says, woman, you're free. What happened? What happened? Wait, before he healed her, what happened? There's a step before healing happens. See, this is why some people at church don't receive healing. There's a step before healing. See, she heard the word. And when she heard the word, she received the word. And after she received the word, she acted on the word. Oh, see, I know this. See, when I was in Miami, God said some really odd things when I was surrounded by all the grown men after service. He says, I've had this place with as much as anointing as I have in every large service around the world. But if you had to drive 16 hours, you would have received better. See, we fail to receive. We hear, and it comes in. It's just like how we did when we were teenagers. Grown-ups, y'all remember? When your mom or dad are fussing at you, you hear it. Yeah, whatever. Whatever. When I was a teenager, I couldn't say it. If I said whatever, I'd have to catch my teeth. See, now you guys say whatever. Couldn't be in my day. I couldn't even finish the word. I would be like, what? I was going to ask what you want me to do. How many of you remember those days? Amen. All this like, I hate you to your parents. Ooh, you hate what? You hate what? It's a different era. We do that at church. We hear, and in our heads, we're rejecting everything we hear. And the reason why we're rejecting it is because we really don't want to change. We want to stay the same way we are, but we want benefits. Yeah, friends with benefits junk. We try to do that at church. I want to be friends with benefit with Jesus. You want the benefit of the Christian life, but you don't want to be Christian. Come pray this off of me. But I'm not going to change after you finish. I'm going to stay the very same. So she heard the word. Then he put his hand on her. And immediately she straightened up. Wait, it doesn't stop there. And praised God. She was coming to church for 18 years. And she really loved God. Jesus spoke to her. She received it. He put his hand on her. She straightened up and began to disrupt service. Do you understand? Okay, some of you are looking at me with that puzzled look. So I'm going to act it out. Come up here. Be healed. Hand on him. And he's still trying to preach. Now, do you blame her? Any of you blame 18 years? That's what it takes for some of you to be grown-ups, right? How many of you can't wait till you turn 18? Some of you are not raising your hand. You're probably 18 already. I can't wait to be 18. I just can't wait to be 18. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. I couldn't tell you how much I can't wait. I can't wait because I grew up in a house where my dad told me every day. He says, if you want to do what you want to do, if you want to have your own rules, you need to move from under my roof. Because as long as you're under my roof, you have to do what I tell you to do. So I can't wait to get under my own roof. And I had to be 18 to do it. And I remember one time my dad came to my house. And my dad told me to do something. And I looked up. He says, what are you doing? I still think it's my roof. I think I'm paying for this roof. I don't think it's your roof. I think it's my roof. I am no longer under your roof. I appreciate what you're telling me, but I'm paying for this. See, I couldn't wait till I turned 18. And at 18, I signed up to the Army while Dad wasn't home. He was in another country. And the recruiter came over, and they gave me an audition, and they say, sign. I get to leave right after graduation? Yeah, right, a week after graduation. My dad comes home. He has plans for me. And he's laying out all the plans. This year we're going to do this and this and this and this and this. Because he was my business manager. No, Dad. What do you mean, no? We are going to do this. No, Dad. Yes, we are. Signed up for the Army. I won't be here to finish this. I can do all of this, but I won't be here for the rest of this. They already paid me half in advance. You're going to have to pay it back. Because I can't do it. I'm in the Army now. And I did, I left. You know what my dad told me? In 2 weeks, you'll be back home. You can't do the runs. All you do is sit at the piano and play. You can't do the sit-ups. You can't do the push-ups. In 2 weeks, you'll be back home. So every time I felt like quitting in basic training, I remembered what my dad said. So when I had to graduate from basic training, and I gave the commencement speech, because I was the first graduate, I said I would like my father to stand up. My dad stood up. I thank my father because he knows how to encourage me. I won't be here if it wasn't for him. See, because I work good on negatives. Tell me what I can't do. Please tell me what I can't do. Go ahead and tell me what I can't do. Because I'm going to prove to you it can be done. See, here Jesus is doing this miracle, but he's going to the place where people are all churchy. He had to learn how to be able to stand on his own before he got there. Come on, I'm preaching already. He had to already experience how to have faith by himself and not sit there and wait for other people to stir his faith up. He got up there, and do you know people were looking at him like, oh, he's not going to be able to do this one. Oh, no, I know he did a lot of miracles before, but he's not going to be able to do anything to this woman. Here's the reason why. It is illegal. It's the Sabbath. See, they have this rule in the Old Testament, the Sabbath is the day unto the Lord. It says, you shall do no work. Not even your slaves in your house are to work on the Sabbath. No one works on the Sabbath. This is the holy day as unto the Lord. So they thought Jesus doing a miracle was work. They didn't know that it was God's power that's used. So if God didn't want it used, it wouldn't work on the Sabbath. Here's the reality. The Sabbath was made for man. This is what Jesus said. Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath, which means the day was made for you to rest. It wasn't made so you're forced to rest. See, I have this new movement that's happened, this Jewish movement thing. Oh, I had a big old speech with someone in Miami about it because, you know, we're doing it the Jewish way. And I'm like, listen, I'm offended by that. Well, why are you offended? I said, because I have Jewish friends. They don't want you. Jewish are not trying to get more Jewish people. They're not. I said, understand how to do things. That is a great thing. Understand how they do it and why they do it. But to pretend you're one is offensive. Oh, well, we have to have service on the Sabbath, because the Bible says to keep it holy. Yes, I know, but I'm not a Jew. Sorry. It's the same on Saturday to me as it is on Sunday, and Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's the same thing. It's no difference. Why would you say that? The Bible says to keep it holy. I'm holy all the time. The Bible says, be thou holy. I am holy, be thou holy. I'm holy all the time. I don't just pick to be holy on the Saturday. I'm holy on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'd say whatever day it is, I'm holy, therefore that day is holy to me. I'm not being critical of those who are doing that. I just want you to understand. Here it is, they're giving that mess to Jesus. Indignant because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, the synagogue leader said to the people, there are 6 days for work. So come and be healed on those days and not on the Sabbath. I know y'all don't find it funny, but I find it really hilarious. You're about to die of cancer. You got 6 days for that appointment. Don't come on the 7th. We're not going to heal you of cancer on the 7th day. You got 6 days in the week. Go find them on those 6 days. Why you got to come here and mess up our church? Now, some of you don't know this. I have been asked not to pray for anybody on Sunday. I was attending a large church with thousands of people, and they say, Pastor, can you do us a favor and don't pray for anyone? Okay. Said because our other pastors are not where you are spiritually, and it seems to the other people that you have more anointing than they have. And in my head I was saying, that's because I do. But I wasn't going to tell them that. I live in Alabama. I can't say that I had more anointing than they had. So I didn't pray for anybody. But God has a great sense of humor. Some of you know this story already. I'm telling you, God is funny. Oh my goodness gracious. God can be, one of those comedians and give you the funniest things ever. Because I came the following week and I was around the middle of the row and I am just worshiping God. The praise team is singing and I'm moving with the praise team and I raised my hand up and everyone around me fell. And I'm looking at the pastor like, I didn't do anything. I didn't touch any of these people. They fell on their own. I had nothing to do with it. They told me to stay at my church. Oh, you don't have to support us during the American service. You can stay over there with the Hispanic congregation. It's okay. Thank you. Then every once in a while, some of the Americans will show up to our service. Say, you remember that? Some of them will show up. You know why? Because they needed healing. I've been diagnosed with cancer. Pastor Barbara is laughing, but that's exactly what they said. Please don't tell anybody I came here. Just shh. Just pray over me. Let God heal me, and we'll just call it even. You don't know how many people show up. I'll start tithing to your ministry. I'll give extra if God can heal me of this. And God healed them, and we never saw a dime. Up to now, people still search me out because they need healing. Here it is. This has not changed. Still people get up and say, you got 6 days to get it done. Don't come and mess up our order of service. We have a schedule planned. So I need some of you young people, when you go to college, have the power of God on you, that you go mess up some church services where you raise your hand in the middle of praise and worship and the people around you fall down because of the anointing on you. Be so different, that have the anointing of God so on you that people will start asking you, can you please not come to church? Because I've been asked not to come to church. I'm not kidding you. You can ask my wife. One of our sisters that come and visit every once in a while, she attends the church. And her church, they never let me minister. Ever. And when we left and our ministry began, and they heard of the power of God moving in our service, the person that told them, they looked at her and said, Ronaldo is making it happen. Like I'm pushing people. Receive. I want to see how that works with cancer. I'm making it happen, so why do they not have cancer any longer? If I'm making it happen, then why don't they have AIDS any longer? Come on, kind of make sense of these things. We have to get to the point. Our young people feel good under your own skin. Yes, I said that. Feel good under your own skin. Stop being critical every time you look in the mirror. I don't like this, and I don't like the other one, and I don't like, and I don't like, and I don't like, and I don't like, and I don't like. Who cares? Who cares? Is that going to stop the world from turning? Oh, well, Pastor, you don't know what you're talking about because you married a pretty girl. Let me tell you some of the things that were told to me when I was around your age. First of all, they said, we don't like your smile. You look like you have a square in your mouth. Every time you smile, you have just a square in there. Just a perfect square. Then you have big lips. See, big lips are in now, so I'm in style, but I've always had this. I had a girl that looked at me, she said, you know, when you go on the school bus and you put the window down, do not put your head out. Because your lips are going to act like a sail and it's going to slap you to death. I had people pick on me all the time. I knew all my defects. I mean, I knew them good. Because every time I went somewhere, someone decided they needed to list them all. And they'll go through, and you have this and that and the other, and you're missing this, you have the other, and how come you're not bothered? I have 6 siblings. What do that have to do anything? You got to try harder. They've told me all of this and then some. I'm good. Whenever I went somewhere, and I saw a pretty girl, believe me, I didn't wait to talk to the pretty girl. I was the first one. Ooh, and I'll try out my lines. Hey, if I failed, it's okay. At least I tried. Why? I learned to live in the skin God gave me. This is what God gave me. So God is perfect. He doesn't make mistakes. Come on now. You may not look like the supermodel, but the supermodel don't look like the supermodel. Oh, y'all didn't know this? That they fix up her picture. Oh, the supermodel doesn't look like the supermodel, and you trying to look like the supermodel. You got to learn to live in the skin you're in. That's the first thing. Stop being so critical over yourself. I am a little too shy and I'm not good around people. Who cares? What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Nothing, right? All you do is step out. I'm going to make a fool out of myself. Maybe. But eventually you won't. Eventually you'll have it down pat. Elijah went to Miami and everybody liked Elijah in Miami. And Elijah was really silly. But he was trying. You know, they gave him a gift from the pulpit. And he know they speak Spanish. So he's going to try his Spanish. And he said, "Ese es yo." Now all the Spanish speakers got it right away. Because he's supposed to say, "Eso soy yo." But he said it's so wrong. But he said it with so much confidence. I mean, he got up like he owned the place. "Eso es yo." Sat down with his gift. And the people looked at him and said, "We have never seen a boy like your son. He is so confident. He is full of confidence." Well, he's dealing with acne. He don't like all his teeth separate. I mean, he has his list of stuff he doesn't like about himself. So what? He got used to the skin he's in. Come on, I am preaching to you young folks, because you have all the reasons in the world not to do something. But you find now there are people that have more that are doing. It was so much so that the pastor said, "I wish I found a boy like yours for my daughter." Just met him for a few days. What is it? He's confident. Lisa, was he always confident? How about you, Chris? Far from it. I mean, I used to fuss at him. "You're my son. You need to act like my son." "You're not acting like my son right now. I'm confident. Act like my son." Ooh, 3 years ago, he got it. 3 years ago, it clicked. Confidence have nothing to do with how you look. Confidence have to do with the knowledge of who you are. Oh, come on. The knowledge of who you are. Now, we have it better that are Christians. Not just who I am, but whose I am. See, every time I walk somewhere, maybe y'all don't know this, but people always get that feeling that I'm rich. Have you ever noticed that? Every time I go, I can wear jeans and t-shirt and look all dusty and stuff and walk in and people think I'm rich. How I know? They'll skip everybody. I mean, skip everybody. Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. Can you give me $5? Why you find me out? I watch you just shoo everybody aside. And I know it too, because I'd start telling my wife, "Let's walk quickly, because they're going to come up to me and ask me for money. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Come on, kids, let's go, let's go." Oh, he got a hold of me. Can you give me something so you know I can just make it through today? No. Well, you have it. I know. Then why won't you give it to me? Because it's mine. It's not ours. It's mine. Every time I go somewhere. Some of you have gone with me places. Am I telling the truth? Every time I go somewhere. I mean, I went in there with a team from here to Miami. They gonna pass the whole team, go by everybody, and come directly to me. And I'm like, come on, I'm next to a white lady. Ask her for money. Why? I act like if I'm rich. See, in the inside, I am rich. You know why? The Bible says, let the poor say that he's rich. So I tell myself, I'm rich. And you know what? Eventually I will be. Eventually I'll have the money to back it up. Because I already feel that way in the inside. See, what you feel in the inside eventually catches up to you. So if you feel you're ugly, even though you're pretty, eventually you will be ugly. Wow. The Bible said it this way. What you think in your heart, so are ye. So change how you think in your heart. Girls, haven't you seen the ugliest guy with the prettiest girl? Have you ever seen that? And then the girl's walking holding his hand. And you're like, girl, that boy's ugly. Whew, he put the U in ugly. He's not just ugly, he is ugly. His face look like the tree bark. Goodness gracious, and you so proud, he is my man. Yeah. What does that guy have that other guys fail to have? How he thinks about himself. Oh, he can see what he has in the mirror, but what he sees in the mirror is not who he is. How many are getting this? See, God really wants to do a change in our lives in this year, but some of us give God what he gave us as if it's worthless. And God gave you his very best. If you're having a hard time with a class, begin to tell yourself that's your favorite class. Start going to the class looking forward to that class. Psych yourself out. I can't wait, man. I haven't even been able to sleep because I have chemistry today. Oh, I can't wait to see my chemistry professor. Oh, I can't wait to get a hold of that beaker. Oh, I can't wait to get to the periodic table. Oh, man, AU. Oh, that's a symbol for gold. I can't wait to get some gold. How many of you got the AU already, right? AU, gold. That's how I had to learn how to the periodic table. I had to make it fun because I hated chemistry. I failed it twice. I did. I hated it. But you know what I told myself after I had it for the first time? I hate this. When I had it the second time, you know what I said? I hate it even more. By the time I had the third time, I got an insight. I don't like to do what I hate. I only like to do what I like. So I need to figure out how to like it so I can pass it. And I started looking forward to it. Oh, I'm going to see Miss Roundtree today. She and her square shoulders, I can't wait to see her. She was a basketball coach too. She's taller than me. I can't wait. And then she had square shoulders, and it was the time that they had the shoulder pads. They'll put the shoulder pads on the women's jacket. And then she'll write on the board, and her body will be in the way. And then as soon as she's finished, she'll get the eraser and start erasing. So you had to sit there and write. And then she started erasing, and you're like, Father, I'm looking forward for her to write. I'm just looking forward. I can't wait till I'm going to make this a game. Let me see if I can get everything that she writes. Oh, I lost today, but tomorrow is another day. Then I passed chemistry. I started thinking differently. She didn't change. I changed. Hey, that should be right there, something that all of you grab hold of. Pastor, how do you get all A's at university? because I learned to play their game. I learned their game. I had to learn their rules. So the first test, I normally fail the first test. Yeah, I normally do really bad on the first test. But then I look at how they do the test, and I see how they word everything, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, I figured that out. Oh, yeah, they do it like that. None of that was in the book. Oh, so I don't even need to bring the book. This is all just in class. Oh, cool. I'm not going to bring the book. I'm just going to take notes. Take the test, got an A. Then you have the other professor. The other professor that teaches things the whole week, and then when they take the test, it was nothing that they taught. Oh, well, I got this. This is all from the book. So I don't need to pay attention or even take notes. I just need to read. I learned the game. And every professor has a game they play. You just got to figure it out. And when you figure out their game, my wife would get mad at me. What are you doing? I'm studying. How are you studying? You're playing a video game. Yeah, but I have my headphones on. The teacher just covers the stuff that she discussed in class. So all I have to do is hear it over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's all I have to do. The game is mute. I'm listening to her talk. I'm a tactile learner. That means touch and learn. I'm touching and learning. But honey, you keep playing the same game. I can't play a game I have to focus on. Then I'm concentrated in the game. I have to do something I've done so many times that I don't even have to think it. But I'm listening. I'm listening. And I take the test. And I took a test one time. Took a test. It was a test to graduate. You know how important that test is? You had to write an essay. They gave me 2 topics to pick from. I picked a topic. Stapled the thing together, stood up, and looked around me. And they were graphing their paragraph. I had finished, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to write about. I got a little scared. This is a lot more serious than I thought. I just wrote. I read it. Make sure my punctuation was correct. You know, when you get to those words that you're not sure how to write it, you know, I got to some of those words, I'm not sure if this is how you write that word, so I'm just going to put a small word in its place. And went through all the ones that I wasn't sure, not sure, change it to a small word. There you go, turned it in. Got my results like 3 weeks later. I passed. Come find out that half of the people failed. Half of the people failed. I passed and wrote something in 10 minutes. Oh, I said, you're so smart, Pastor. No, I know how I feel about myself. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Is that part of all? Oh, yeah, I can write. Oh, I can write. Give me a topic. And then when I ran into the head of the English department, and she says, Ronaldo, come over here. I'm like, yes, I loved your paper. What paper? The paper you wrote. I've been in English. I've written a lot of papers. No, the most important paper to graduate. I loved your paper. Really? Oh, thank you very, very much. The whole department loved your paper. What? The whole department read my paper? Oh, yes. See, because my topic was something like, what has happened in your life to make you the person that you are now? Oh, and I started being poor in Panama. I started writing about my two siblings who died of hunger. I moved to the United States when I was 10 years old. My mom died of cancer. It inspired me so much. I went to the Army, became Sergeant of the Year, I played for 2 presidents of the United States. Man, I didn't have enough room in that paper to do everything I wanted to do because it could only be 2 pages long. And I turned it in, and I passed, but also impressed everybody. Why? Because I learned a secret. Eventually, people see exactly who you are. Eventually, people will see right through you and see who you really are. So why don't you start being who you really are now? Well, I'm a little crazy. No, you're not, because I've never seen it. Yeah, I just sit down and I'm quiet, but I'm a little crazy. No, you're not. You're not crazy at all. Yeah, I am. I'm crazy around my friends. Oh, the no good friends. I think you're putting on an act. Deep message for Sunday morning. It's getting warm. I start seeing heads starting to nod a little. It's not the nod, yes, I agree. It's the nod of sleepy monster is coming and get me. So the Lord answered him. This is in church. It's called synagogue there, but this is still in church. This is what he answered. You hypocrite. What is a hypocrite? Two-faced. Two-faced. Some are 3-faced and 4 faces and 5 faces. See, it comes from a word of hypocrite, which is an actor. See, at the time, the Romans and the Greek, it started with the Greek did not allow women to act. It was something only allowed for men. So the man will play every role. And what he will do is he'll have a mask. And he'll put on the mask. And he's the woman. And all of a sudden he's talking like this to everybody over there because he's a woman. Then he takes off his mask and he's back to being a very manly man. And when he ever had to do a love scene, it was difficult. I love you. Yes, I love you more. It was really, really strange because he played all the roles at the same time. So this is where the word comes from. Hypocrite, more than one faces. Would Jesus say that to church today? Oh yeah, you bunch of two-faced folks because you act one way in school and then act another way at church. That's being a hypocrite. When I was dating my wife, I told her what you see is what you get. How you see me right now is how I am everywhere. I am not changing because you're with me. And if you ever say I do to me, you're going to find out that the one you have is the same one that you have before you right now. I am no different. I refuse to be fake for anybody. I'm going to be the real thing. And I have to learn to just stick to my guns. If you've been to my house, how many of you have stayed over my house before? How many of you realize I'm the same? How many have gone to a trip with me? How many found out I'm the same? Even in another country. I'm still the same, right? It's kind of good when you're around people that are the same because you don't have to walk on eggshells. When I'm around people that, today I got to be careful because, today they're not Christians. On Sunday, I can speak the word. They're ready for it. Stop being a hypocrite. Yes, you're coming to church. Stop being a hypocrite. Well, y'all can't handle all the stuff that I'm into. Really, I know anyway. Who you think you're fooling? I know stuff. You'll be surprised at the stuff I know. Well, that's not right. You had to see when we were in Miami. People came up. And they had that look. Please don't tell everybody. Then I look at him and I said, I'm not here to tell you about that. You already know it. Today you're going to change. What? I don't really know. Is that what you just said? Come over here. Breathe, breathe, breathe. You know, there's nothing that you can do where God can't see. There's nothing you can do that God doesn't see. Come on, you trying to hide it, and God's right there. He sees all of it. And you get around someone. Now, God don't tell me everything, but boy, he sure loves when people say that I don't know. He sure loves to make a fool out of them. And then all of a sudden, he just tells me a lot of stuff. And I'm like, mm-hmm. Sometimes I have to hide my expression because sometimes I feel like throwing up. I just threw up in my mouth. That was because some of the stuff is really not good at all. So stop being a hypocrite. It's a lot easier to listen. I keep messing up. Can you just pray for me? I'm trying my best, you know. I'm having it difficult. I'm having it difficult in this area. And I'm having it difficult in this area. Stop being pretentious because you will get discovered. Just be honest. Well, Pastor, you've never had a problem in anything. Yeah, I did. I've had lots of issues. And every once in a while, some of those dead things want to rise up. And I have to kill it again. Don't think that, hey, I'm Superman. I'm not. I still have things that every once in a while, it's like they want to resuscitate. And you died. Do I have to kill you again? Don't each of you on the Sabbath untie your ox or donkey from the stall and lead it out to give water. This is what Jesus is saying, in other words. They're saying, you know, you can't do this kind of work on the Sabbath. And he's saying, don't all of you work on Saturdays? All of you will take care of an animal. Well, that sounds like our generation then, doesn't it? Oh, we're going to do for our dogs and our cats, but forget the neighbor. We're going to go buy the expensive food, you know, because we got to keep them on a good diet. But if the neighbor is hungry, we're going to pray for him. Oh, I'm preaching already. I hadn't stopped preaching. Because I've seen those cats with $1 million necklace. Oh, that don't make any sense. You can give the cat a whole bunch of plastic around his neck. He's not going to know a difference. The cat's not going to go, meow, take my diamonds. He's not going to do that. The cat doesn't know. Don't know any difference. That's a waste of money. Use it on something worthwhile. We still do that mess. And then we complain about other people. Then should not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has kept bound for 18 long years, be set free on the Sabbath day from what bound her? Shouldn't she? I mean, she has the right lineage. She came from Abraham. You want her to pick a day after 18 years to be healed? Isn't today good enough? Now, our young people, you can have boldness and still be shy. Oh, yeah, you can. You see Jennifer doing Zumba up there. You see Jennifer gets up here and with a quickness and start to interpret. You will never know that girl is shy. I know she's shy. I have to deal with her having butterflies and her stomach getting sick and she feels like throwing up. I have to deal with that because she doesn't like being in front of people. She doesn't want to be heard. She don't want to dance in front of anybody. She don't want to do any of that. She wanted to sit down in the back and no one ever noticed her. But I said, listen, I need you to do it. You are my helpmate. Help. And she helps. So when the ladies come up, they said, I'm shy. Ooh, she gets mad. Y'all hadn't seen Jennifer mad. Oh, I've seen her mad. Oh, she sometimes want to get physical. I just want to wring her neck. Oh. She does. She's like, they just keep on doing the same thing over and over and over. And then she hates this. She really hates this part. Honey, it took you a long time. So it's taken them a long time. Why you always have to remind me? Well, at least it takes you a long time. I get to change quickly. And I have to deal with those who take a long time. Which one you think is more difficult? So here it is, in a nutshell. Today, we have already one college student attending elsewhere. In a week or so, we're going to have 2 attending elsewhere. We've had Elijah out. We've gotten to talk to some people that work with Elijah, and guess what? They've told us what Elijah said. So it's not just Elijah just running his mouth. When you go places, be different. It's boring to be the same. Be different. Stand out. Stand up for what you believe. Don't let the school teach you nonsense. Oh, learn their nonsense to pass their test. But know the difference.